It is a Kumbh Lagna horoscope with Mars in the Lagna. Bangladesh is running similar combinations like Pakistan. Pakistan is running a combination where it will lose land again. Pakistan lost Bangladesh and Pakistan will now lose Balochistan. When Saturn comes very close to 29 degrees, which will be in February, March 2025, this violent combination will become absolutely incendiary and troublesome. India by the end of 2030 will be the spiritual, from that time onwards will become the spiritual capital of the world. It's a clear planned strategy to oust Sheikh Hasina. That's very clear from Sheikh Hasina's chart and very clear from the Bangladesh chart.
After Pakistan, Bangladesh, facing a very similar situation with so many troubled neighboring countries, how is India going to be handling all of this or getting affected by all of this? Hi, I'm Pritika Rao. Welcome to my astrology podcast. As you are aware, the trend of interviewing astrologers and astrology podcasts started on this very channel from 2023 onwards. And in February 2023, Maniza Ahuja ji had predicted on my channel the victory of Narendra Modi and the fact that it will not be that easy. It won't be an easy win, but he will win. She had also predicted in that very episode that India's neighboring countries will not be in a very good situation. There will be a war-like situation in 2024. And I remember saying that they are our neighbors, so it's going to be sad if that eventually materializes, and it has with Bangladesh. So I was very curious to know the future of Bangladesh through astrology, and I have Maniza Ahuja ji once again on my podcast. Welcome, Maniza ji.
Thank you for inviting me over, Pritika. Thank you.
I want to begin with asking you, when you see the horoscope of Bangladesh, what is it that you actually see? Like, how do you see the horoscope from the time it separated from Pakistan, from the time it announced its independence? Because there were two different scenarios. How do you see it?
So yes, for Bangladesh, there are a couple of dates that are important. Of course, there is a foundation horoscope that we've looked at, but there are a couple of dates. The first is 26th March 1971, the date when Mujibur Rahman, the father of Bangladesh, proclaimed independence. Now, this has not been chronicled across a lot of dailies, but a lot of secondary data is available on for this particular date as the date for proclamation of independence. It happened sometime in the evening. We can look at a 6 p.m. chart. We don't have the exact time, but we can look at the date, which is important for us, and a 6 p.m. chart that can be looked at. The second important date that a lot of astrologers and a lot of other people look at is when Pakistan surrendered to India and left their control on Bangladesh completely, which was the 16th of December 1971. We are looking at an 11 a.m. time. Now, while we look at these two important horoscopes, I want to add one more thing here. On the 17th of April 1971, Mujibur Rahman and some other delegates from Bangladesh came to India. They had a small flag hoisting ceremony. And on the 18th of April 1971, Bangladesh joined Commonwealth, which means that Bangladesh as an entity existed on the 17th of April. So 26th of March cannot be completely negated. So that proclamation was important. And then Bangladesh moved into Commonwealth, as in joined Commonwealth as Bangladesh, the country, on 18th April 1971. When I give predictions for Bangladesh, I'm looking at both the charts. But in detail, I will look at the 16 December 1971 chart. It is an 11 a.m. chart. It is a Kumbh Lagna horoscope with Mars in the Lagna, Saturn in the 4th house, Rahu in the 12th house with Gulik, Jupiter, Moon and retrograde Mercury in the 10th, Venus and Sun in the 11th house. Now, if you look at the current dasha in this chart, it is that of Sun, Rahu, and Venus. If you look at Venus in the Navamsha, which is a Dhanu Lagna Navamsha, is aspected both by Saturn and Mars. And Rahu, the Antardashanath, is in the 12th, conjunct with Gulik. The Upagrahas are very, very important. My Jyotish Guru Rao sir has always said that one must look very carefully and try and analyze Upagrahas. Gulik and Mandi are of special significance here. We just look at the 7 planets and, of course, Rahu, Ketu, but it is the Upagrahas which hold a lot of the hidden promises of a chart. They need to be understood very carefully, for they will reveal a lot. In this case, this conjunction of Gulik and Rahu is important in the 12th house. One needs to study that very carefully. The dispositor of Rahu, Saturn, is in the 4th house, aspected by the incendiary Mars. And we know that Rahu for sure is going to cause problem for this chart. Sun, let's not forget, in this chart is the 7th lord, the 7th lord of war. So if we look at these combinations that are currently running through in Bangladesh, then let me tell you that from January 2023, when Saturn moved in Kumbha, remember in this horoscope, Mars is in Kumbha, in Purva Bhadrapad Nakshatra. And Saturn has just retrograded on the 29th of June, 2024. But this movement of Saturn on Mars started from January 2023. So the seeds of trouble have been sowing since then, or rather they have been sowed from January 2023. They have just erupted now. And therefore, we've seen what is happening there, mass looting in 27 districts. Hindu houses and their businesses are being looted. Many temples have been put on fire. And this looting, this killing, this arson, the combinations that are coming, believe me, till April 2025, till Saturn remains in Kumbha, there will be no respite. This natal Mars in Kumbha, in Purva Bhadrapad Nakshatra, is in the last degrees, 29 degrees, 41 minutes. Saturn takes approximately a month to cover 1 degree. When Saturn comes very close to 29 degrees, which will be in February, March 2025, this violent combination will become absolutely incendiary and troublesome. So the troubles that have picked up now are not going to simmer down. They will remain as flared up and volatile till April, 1st April 2025, when Saturn moves on to Pisces. Even though, and I'm giving you a long-term perspective here, even though Saturn moves into Pisces, Saturn's movement through Pisces and through Aries is not going to augur well for Bangladesh. So there seems to be another larger trend, a longer phase, which goes on till almost June 2029. And this is not going to see a very stable government in Bangladesh. And from June 29 onwards, for a period of 4 years, that is when the actual mayhem will happen in Bangladesh. Because at that point in time, Saturn will transit over its natal position in Taurus, being aspected by Mars. So June 29, 30, 31, 32. This arc, which goes on till mid of 32, even extends till mid of 33. These 3-4 years, at the end of the decade, they seem even more disastrous. Bangladesh is running similar combinations like Pakistan. And I have previously on your channel mentioned that Pakistan is running a combination where it will lose land again. Pakistan lost Bangladesh, and Pakistan will now lose Balochistan. Sri Aurobindo, in one of his works, had mentioned that a time will come when Pakistan will have no boundary. There will be no boundaries to this country. That is not you or me or any other astrologer saying, that's a revered saint saying so. Those are the words of Sri Aurobindo. So if we were to summarize it, we'd say that from now till April 2025, it's going to be violence, arson, and looting. This is not going to be easy for Bangladesh. Even if they find and form an interim government, it'll be troublesome. Even after April 25, when the violent combinations sort of settle down, after April 25, it'll be slightly better. But from April 25 to June 2029, it is still an unstable government. When Saturn transits, as I've previously explained, through Pisces and Aries, it is going to be an unstable government. But disaster will strike, major disaster strikes from June 29 onwards, and the arc is till the middle of 2033. That is when Saturn moves into Rohini, goes back and forth. So that is a 4-year period that I've taken, not just in Rohini, not just in Taurus, when it moves a little further and then retrogrades back. So I've taken a larger arc there. Yes.
So it's going to be 4 years of a very troublesome and rightly so, because the scenario there is so bad that I don't think, I mean, it's going to take time for Bangladesh to actually pick up as a nation. I have a question here for you. When women rule the country as a prime minister or a president, I'm sure there are, some indications in the country's horoscope, because there are certain planets that rule or show female energies, like moon, like Venus. In the last 15 years, Bangladesh was ruled by a lady, a woman prime minister. So I want to know, what are the changes astrologically or planet-wise that you see suddenly happening in this month or this year that she had to take refuge in India?
See, so I will share the details of Sheikh Hasina's chart with you.
Sure.
28th September 1946, 11 a.m., Dhaka, Bangladesh. This is a Scorpio Lagna chart with Ketu in the Lagna, Venus, Moon, Mars, Jupiter in Libra in the 12th house, Mercury exalted with Sun in the 11th house, Saturn in the 9th house, and of course, as I said, Rahu in the 7th, since Ketu is in the Lagna. She's running that enigmatic dasha of Venus-Jupiter. In Kalidas's Uttar Kalamrit, this particular dasha finds specific mention. It says that when you run periods of Jupiter-Venus or Venus-Jupiter, then that is actually the period of Rank se Raja, Raja se Rank. It does not happen in everybody's case, but it's a very enigmatic dasha, because Venus represents the guru of the Daityas and Jupiter represents the guru of the Devas. When they catch hold of an individual in their dashas, whether they be Venus-Jupiter or Jupiter-Venus dashas, then it's a very tricky, very troublesome period that has consequences that you suffer even for later years. And these are not the times to take very experimental decisions. But in Sheikh Hasina's case, it is not that she had a choice. While I discuss Sheikh Hasina's chart and we really praise her and we say, yes, the Awami League had some very good economic policies, and of course, but remember, karma has a way to come back to you. It has a boomerang effect. Sheikh Hasina is the daughter of Mujibur Rahman. He did his graduation in Calcutta, and his mentor was Suharwardi, the chief minister of Bengal. I'm talking of 1940s. In 1945, under Suharwardi, Mujibur Rahman activated what is known as the Direct Action Day of Calcutta. Everybody should Google what Direct Action Day was to try and understand what was the history, what is the history of Bengal. Mujibur Rahman was assassinated on the 15th of August 1975 in a military coup by Ziaur Rahman, the husband of Khalida Zia. So now we know why both the ladies are staunch political enemies. Now let's look at the astrological combination. Sheikh Hasina, when her father was assassinated, was studying in Germany and was therefore saved. Her mother, her younger brother were assassinated in this military coup. So the dasha that she ran at that point in time was Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter. Saturn in the 9th house with its dispositor in the 12th house with the 12th lord. And both Mercury and Jupiter doubly troubled by Mars and Saturn in D9, the Navamsha. That was one military coup. And then now, when we look at this chart and understand the resignation which she put in on the 5th of August, remember, Mercury retrograded on the 5th of August itself. If you look at Mercury, you will say it is exalted in the 11th house. But then look at the Chardasha that she is running. She's running the Chardasha, the Mahadasha of Aquarius. And now you know, because there has to be a juxtaposition between the Vimshotri Dasha and the Chardasha, only then are you able to pick out the very finer nuances of a particular chart. Now that she has left the country, there is no coming back. She will be out and she'll have to seek political asylum. She's currently in India, but she will move out of India as well, because India too will not keep her for a very long time, and she will have to seek political asylum in a foreign country. And that will be the end of her political career. And as I said previously, karma definitely boomerangs. It knows, karma knows your address. Like a calf recognizes its mother in the midst of a herd or a crowd, similarly, the karma recognizes its karta. So that direct action day has come back.
So are you linking it to the Pitru dosha? Because, it's believed in astrology that whatever sins are committed by our ancestors comes back to us.
Absolutely. They come back to haunt you. Because if the father of this lady committed such a heinous crime, now the karma will travel through the DNA line. What you have done stays with you. Now you, your progeny, their progeny, and their progeny will have to suffer. And this was no ordinary karma. And if you look at the chart of Bangladesh, the combination is very clear why this coup happened. The second military coup happened when Ziaur Rahman was assassinated on the 30th of May, 81. At that point in time, Bangladesh ran the Vimshotri Dasha of Mercury Ketu, whose dispositor moon is in the 7th house. And from the 7th from moon, we have both the malefics, Saturn and Mars giving its 4th aspect to this Saturn. And Ketu is also receiving the 3rd aspect of Saturn. So this chart is replete with a combination of not one, but many such scandals and conspiracies.
So now what's next in store for Bangladesh? Do you see, the militants coming in? Do you see military ruling the country? Or do you see, somebody else ruling in? Or would Khalida Zia just be like a witness, or would she have any role to play? What would your take be?
See, I don't have Khalida Zia's horoscope, but we all know that Khalida Zia of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has been freed from the prison. After Sheikh Hasina moving out of the country, now Bangladesh has become a playground for China, Pakistan, even the US. So one needs to look at it very carefully, but what is very clear from this chart of Bangladesh is that now military will have a lot of say in this country. Like for Pakistan, military has control over the country, and that will be the case in Bangladesh as well. And the minorities would be troubled in Bangladesh now, just like they are in Pakistan. This is not just some Arakshan problem that has happened. It's a clear, planned strategy to oust Sheikh Hasina. That's very clear from Sheikh Hasina's chart and very clear from the Bangladesh chart. It is not just some internal conflict that happened in Bangladesh. It is a planned conspiracy with China and Pakistan involved. And therefore, this flare-up that happened in Bangladesh, they have sabotaged the country. It's not just some fluke. It's a planned strategy.
So incidentally, Sheikh Hasina's son Sajib has to say the very same thing that you cited, that she did a lot for the country for the last 15 years, but it almost looks like a planned conspiracy to, completely get her out of the picture. After Pakistan, Bangladesh, facing a very similar situation with so many troubled neighboring countries, what do you think India is in store for, and how is India going to be handling all of this or getting affected by all of this?
See, if we look at the horoscope of India, and as I previously shared on your channel, that now neighboring countries will see a lot of trouble and mayhem in 2024. I had shared that in 2023. Now, if we look at the horoscope of India, then if we look at the Chaitra Shukla Pratipada chart, because that is what we analyze when we do mundane astrology, to look at a particular year for that particular country, then this is not a great year. So when we refer to a year, it's from the first Chaitra Navratra to the next Chaitra Navratra. So April to April. So this is not one of the best years, but having said that, I will also repeat what I've previously shared. India has become the 5th largest economy. India will soon become the 3rd largest economy. So the graph is going upwards. The economy is taking an upward leap. So till the end of the decade, India will now have great space programs. Economically, we are going to do very, very well. India, by the end of 2030, will be the spiritual, from that time onwards, will become the spiritual capital of the world. And the East will rise and the West will sort of just see a downside. But the neighbors are going to trouble us. We have a military regime in Myanmar, a bankrupt Pakistan on one side, and now this arson and loot, and an unstable government in Bangladesh, an expansionist China on one side, and of course, there's Afghanistan and Nepal, which is almost sitting in China's lap with those Belt Road initiatives that they have, sort of planned with China. But this is a previous prediction. In the next decade, we will see Nepal come back to India. After you consecrate the Agni Chakra of Akhand Bharat, well, some locations will sort of come back to you. And with the consecration of Ram Mandir, that has already happened. But even though India is on an economic upturn, China will leave no stone unturned in trying to corner us from every angle. Through Pakistan, now through Bangladesh, and of course, Nepal is something that they are in close cahoots with, even Sri Lanka. But remember, this decade is not a great decade for China. Whatever be their plans, Prakriti will give a bit of a, when I say Prakriti, some disease, some troubles will come up in China, which will not let China progress with its expansionist tendencies. So if you look at Chinese economy, it is going, there's a downslide. Manufacturing, India will pick up. Production, India is going to pick up. Irrespective of the troubles that we face, India will fight like a tiger. And we will not be suppressed like we were previously in previous regimes. We will be able to fight back, answer back. Our economy will build. So to that extent, in spite of the problems, India will rise.
So whatever said and done, we share our DNA and our roots with Bangladesh, with Pakistan, and all the neighboring countries of India. we have the same ancestral heritage, and their pain and suffering, um, it's really sad. My heart reaches out to them, especially to the innocent people and the minorities out there, and of course the majority innocent people in Bangladesh who have nothing to do with all these political agendas and conspiracies, but they're innocent and suffering. So my heart still reaches out to them.
May all be well in that country.
Let's hope our neighbors don't have to suffer. Maniza ji, thank you so much for your time and for the astrological analysis. And we just pray and hope for the best for Bangladesh. With that said, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also watch in the previous video where Narendra Modi ji's victory was predicted in February 2023 by Maniza Ahuja ji, and so-called tension that our bordering countries will go through in 2024, which has transpired with Bangladesh. Subscribe to my channel. Lots of love.